best moment of any dad ever is coming in that door, getting that hug. And if you're a dad, even moms, they get it too. But for me, that was and still is my favorite moment of the day. So many times I thought to myself, I'm not doing this right. I need someone to give me the steps A, B, C, but they don't exist. Ask questions. People will help you. And sometimes you don't even have to ask. Being kind, they'll help you anyways.
Welcome everyone to Build Stuff, Be Kind podcast. Today we're having a conversation amongst dads. Sean Flanagan, real estate commercial developer turned author, just released his first book titled Dad Goes on a Work Trip. Stoked. Excited to chop it up with you today, Sean, a fellow Sean. So, I mean, it's going to be a good episode. Two Seans on a pod. Dude, welcome.
Thank you, Sean. It's great to be on the podcast with you. My first ever, I'll be honest, but I could not be more excited to have a fellow Sean, spelled correctly,
That's right,
on the other side. So this is great.
First of many, I'm sure of it.
I'm hoping so as well.
So what inspired you? What like struck you? You're in the commercial real estate world, developing large scale projects. What compelled you to say, hey, you know what? I'm gonna write a children's book.
Great question. I will tell you, the genesis of the idea just sort of appeared out of nowhere, but it came to light because of a need. And that need was to communicate between myself and my daughters. And I was lacking that tool. I could not figure out a way to communicate with them. And the brief backstory is, yes, I was on the road traveling, building industrial warehousing, but specifically last year, I was in another city from where I lived every other week, if not every week, 3 days a week. And I have two daughters at home. I'm a double daughter dad, which I'm very proud of. I know there's many of us out there, and it's a unique place and person to be. But my two daughters, now aged 4 and 6, every Sunday night, and it must have happened for months because I was dreading that moment on Sunday nights when either or both sometimes would come up to me, my daughters that is, and say, Dad, are you leaving again tomorrow? Where are you going? Why do you have to leave? Where are you going to be? Who are you going to be with? So many questions, and it happened every week for months, and my heart broke every single time they asked because I didn't necessarily want to be away from them in a hotel room, driving a rental car in another city where I don't live, away from my wife and family and home. And yes, I enjoy working, and yes, I'm proud of my projects, and yes, I do enjoy traveling, but work traveling, being that corporate road warrior is different. It's not fun. Yes, there are fun moments, but it's an illusion. The majority of them are focused, work-oriented, busy, challenging, stressful, logistics, travel challenges, whatever it may be. And I was trying to figure out a way to communicate with my daughters so they would know that I wasn't just gone all the time having fun everywhere. I missed them, and I wanted to be home with them. And so I started working on this project of just trying to explain it to them, and then it turned into an outline. And I was in the middle of an entrepreneurial leadership group coaching. There's a lot of acronyms in there, or adjectives. And the idea came up. You should write a children's book. Oh, okay. I don't know how to do that. I don't know anybody that's done that. But it sounds like a cool tool to communicate with my daughters, and they loved the idea. I pitched it to them and said, hey, do you want to help me write a book? And mostly it was just me talking and then me doing all this stuff on the back end, and them commenting about the pictures that I created, and giggling and laughing, and not being very helpful, but being cute.
Totally.
And then it just progressed and progressed and progressed, and now we are where we are today, and I have this book that
Dude,
is sellable, and I've read it 1,000 times.
that's amazing. What was their response when you've got the first copy?
Two things. One, of course, they love the ending, and I'll spoil it for everybody. It involves a big hug.
Hmm.
Best moment of any dad
The
ever
best.
is coming in that door, getting
No
that hug.
doubt.
And if you're a dad,
No
even
question.
moms, they get it too. But for me,
Yeah.
that was and still is my favorite moment of the day.
Hmm.
The girls loved that part of the book, was the hug.
That's so cool.
The other thing that I find funny is in the beginning of the story, there's a scene where I'm leaving for the airport. It's dark. It's the middle of the morning. It's like 4 a.m. Flights are not convenient.
Yeah.
And one of my daughters sneaks out of her room, hears me make a noise, whatever, sneaks down the hall and gives me a hug before I leave, which, once again, heartbreaking. I'm trying to get on the road. I'm trying to stay focused. I'm loving it. I'm loving the hug. Then you get to the book telling story time, reading the book with the girls. And my youngest daughter says, Dad, I want you to change that page. I want to sneak out of bed and give you a hug. Not your older sister.
Yeah.
So no
That's
matter what you
awesome.
do, there are
Yeah.
funny moments, and it's been a process. It's been a
That's
lot of
super
fun.
cool. That's so fun. Well, maybe you resolve that in future books where you have all sorts of stories and interactions down the road. What do you feel like is the biggest takeaway from this process of committing to creating this book, not knowing where to go, not knowing what to even do, but feeling like, hey, this is something I'm going to do, this is something I need to do? What do you feel like is that biggest takeaway through that process?
Two simple words: commitment and optimism. And let me explain that a little bit further. But just keep those two words in your mind as I describe a little bit of this process. You hit the nail on the head. I had no idea what I was doing, and still don't. Just kind of mucking my way through it, having fun, trying to enjoy it best I can. And I lean on friends and colleagues in my network for guidance, for continued optimism, things like that. But because the process was such an unknown, there were so many moments of, am I doing this right? Am I stepping into a fraud? Is this person on the other end of the computer email, trying to help me, or are they trying to scam me? And what I mean by that is, about the majority of the time working through this project, I felt like I was getting hustled. I felt like I paid somebody for a service that they weren't really doing, and I thought, oh man, I messed up. I chose the wrong horse, or whatever it may be. I paid for a hybrid publishing project manager to help me upload documents and format things, and fix all the things I don't know how to do, essentially. Well, 6 months went by and I had no progress, and I'm getting weekly little update texts and have a good day moments, and communication was there, but nothing was happening, and I already paid for it, which was weird. The other part of the awkwardness was, before signing a contract with this person, an organization, they had me pay first before signing the contract, which was also weird. But I was trying to stay positive, keep my optimism. I was committed, so I kept marching along. And weeks and weeks went by, and I thought, man, I'm getting, someone's pulling a fraud on me. I'm getting hustled. My money's gone. Nothing's happening. And all of a sudden, I got fed up. I'm done. This service isn't working. I paid for nothing. I'm going to give up on the process. I'm not going to do a book, whatever. Tried to give up, I don't know, maybe 100 times. And then I realized, okay, I'm committed to this because I needed a tool to communicate with my children. And I want to provide this tool for others to communicate with their children. And I already paid for all these different services and parts of this book. I can't give up. So I'm committed. I'm positive in my head. And I'm focused on trying to get this done. And what ended up happening is when I hit that wall, the kind of the main time that it happened, and I was really fed up, I started to be a jerk. And I'll be honest, it's not my favorite thing to do in business. I'm kind of that Midwest nice guy. I say thank you a lot. I take credit for things when they're sometimes not even my fault. But I was so fed up. I thought for sure I was getting, the Amazon end of the year tax call where you got to go to Walmart and buy 1,000 gift cards type of hustle action.
Yeah.
And so I started being mean. I was like, well, if this person's going to hustle me, then I'm going to be mean too. I'm going to be a jerk. But then all of a sudden, things started progressing. And I started getting work product. And I was like, I'm not getting hustled. This is real. Okay, got to revert back to Midwest nice guy. So, so many times I thought to myself, I'm not doing this right. I need someone to give me the steps A, B, C, but they don't exist. There's a million different ways to do this. And you just got to stay positive and you have to stay committed. And so when I have my moments of doubt, just, okay, you're doing this. You already spent the money. Doesn't matter. It's gone. You're not getting it back. Try to get something positive moving forward. You're committed.
Yeah. Dang. Yeah. So it's like that unknown of like, I mean, in this case, like such a clear, like unknown, like they've got, these tools and these deliverables, but I think that's the case in so many things. You're just like, I think I'm doing it right. I want to do this. I hope this works out. I'm pushing forward, and sometimes you just gotta, I don't know, push through and make sure it happens.
Believe in yourself. Commitment and optimism in yourself and your skill sets. Case in point, another example of potential getting hustled, but not really. At a certain point, I was asked for copyright verification by my project manager. And I said, oh, I didn't know I had to do that. Of course, how would I know I'm supposed to do that? I've never done this before. Makes sense. I'm familiar with copyright law and I understand that. And at this time, it was early December, and I was trying to get the book live and sellable by Christmas. That was my goal. I'm going to sell this book at Christmas. Well, that didn't happen. But what was interesting was my publisher or project manager, whatever you want to call her, said, oh, we could get the book registered, copyrighted, printed, ready to sell by Christmas for an additional $1,700. I was like, oh, man. Okay, I'm into this. Already like $2,000. I can't do it. So I went online and started Googling how to copyright, how to get copyright, how to register for copyrights.
Yeah.
I did it myself for $65. And it took a month, but I did it.
Yeah.
I did not sell by Christmas, but I got it done. So, they were trying to fast track, and I get it, and they were providing a rush service. But at the time, I was still in my head thinking, I'm getting hustled here. I can't give these guys another $1,700. Like this is nuts. It's only going to cost me $65 to do it myself. I'm doing that.
For real.
So I believed in myself, and I marched forward.
Dude, that's the only way. You got to keep pushing.
Absolutely.
I love that. What do you feel like are some of the core values that really drive your motivation to see it through, to make it happen, or to kind of take on these things? Are there things that you feel like innately drive you to make these decisions, or values that you have clarity on, or maybe things that just naturally, you said you're, Midwestern nice guy, that plays into it. But what are some of those values that you really find help you navigate those difficult decisions you have to make, or challenges that you face?
Great question. Two core values come to mind for me, and they kind of overlap a little bit. And of course, everything is all interconnected when you're writing a book. But for me, those two core values are family, of course, the book being Dad Goes on a Work Trip. There's family core values at the genesis of the book. But then the other side of it is community. And let me elaborate on that a little bit, because throughout this process of just continual uncertainty and unknowns about what to do next, I relied on a lot of friends and, network and colleagues, and even friends' wives that happened to be in the middle of this process themselves that I didn't know about. But I reached out to my community and kind of just gave them an update on what I was working on, where I was
Yeah.
at in my head, what I wanted to achieve with all this effort. And my coach's wife, actually, Townsend, but
Hmm.
his wife, Louisa, connected with me, and I've been talking to her about once a month. And she's the one that's going through her own author process. And
Yeah.
several times I said to her, I just want to be done. Like, this doesn't make
Hmm.
sense. There's no
Yeah.
path. Why am I even doing this? And she would ask me about, why did you start to do this?
Hmm.
What was that need to communicate? And, she would tie it back into the family component, which was what was driving me from the beginning. So I
Totally.
have this community that I'm leaning on to continue to help motivate me to push forward on a family oriented communication tool. So, I mean, without family and without community, the book wouldn't exist. And I'm so thankful for both because it gave me
Yeah.
something fun and unique to do. I'm an author now, that's real.
Yeah.
But then my community helped me achieve that. And
Totally.
without them both, I wouldn't be an author.
Yeah, dude, that's so awesome. I think that's such a good insight. Is just like reflecting on like what is that motivation? Like why am I here? What am I trying to do? What am I trying to accomplish? I think that's really like the clearer we can be on those things, the more challenging things we can take on, or the more we can bounce back from challenging, you know, uh, things that we face and really push forward for sure. Um, when you talk about this commitment and creating this from a multiple conversations within this like group that you were a part of, as well as with your kids and family and then this community, what have you learned about creating opportunity, about creating the life that you want to live, about creating ideas that you have? What how are you uh, I guess two-part question. What have you learned from it? And then how are you a different person today than you were maybe 12 months ago because of that?
Hmm. Ooh. So I'm going to combo response both of them at the same time. It just seems like the best way to do it. I don't know how to break it apart, but the community that I'm a part of and creating just in essence anything is a I would say a core value of that community. We call it in short the creators community, and everybody has their own thing they're working on. Mine happened to be a book. I was creating a
Yeah.
book, and what I learned is at the time I was employed in a very standard corporate job position. You work
Mm,
60 to 100 hours a week, flying all around. You wear button up white shirts all the time.
mm,
And in that world, things are very clear. ABC, you do these three things, you get to the letter D. In the creator world, the community that I mentioned a moment ago, it's not defined. It's very abstract and unknown, but that's the excitement of it. We
mm.
all have something that we have committed to, going back to commitment again.
Yeah.
We've committed to something, and within this community and within ourselves, a action of creation occurs, whether
Mm,
it's subconscious or intentional. For example, I could sit here at my computer and create a manuscript and type it out. Or I could sit here at my computer and communicate with my network, my community, yourself, and see what creates itself
mm.
just through the universe. And
Yeah.
I'm not going to call it religion. I don't know what to call it exactly, but something in the world, in the universe, creates two connections and something real happens. And
Yeah.
sometimes something real could be, a feeling, a loaf of bread, a smile, it could be anything. And
Yeah.
creators community that I'm a part of really leans into that commitment side of it as well. Whereas I'm committed to writing a book, I'm committed to telling people that I'm writing a book because it's
Mm.
something I'm very proud of.
Yeah.
And through that communication, commitment, and this mysterious universe stuff, things just create themselves. I formed a
Mm.
new relationship with my friend's wife, which that sounds weird, but very professional relationship, nothing goofy going on there. But
Yeah.
I never expected that. And out of that relationship, a continued drive and momentum was created within me. I
Yeah.
don't know how else to describe that. And so it's almost a blind faith in outcome.
Mm.
It's a fancy way to say commitment, creates things. And it could be a connection, it could be somebody helping me in the future, it could be a communication, it could be just simply a conversation that boosts my spirits that day. Or it
Yeah.
could be somebody I've never met before that's also a part of the community that knows how to publish books or happens to work for Scholastic Books. I'm making stuff up
Mm.
now. And all of a
Yeah.
sudden, this book, is going to be in a million schools. Be awesome, but
Mm.
I doubt that's going to happen. I don't know if I want that to happen, but who knows? If I
Totally.
create that in my head, somehow that could happen, and I believe
Yeah.
that just because I'm committed to momentum forward. I am not committed to exactly
Totally.
what that momentum will achieve. I'm just committed to pushing forward.
Yeah.
So
I love that. And I mean, it's a powerful thing when you commit, just things, like you said, things just unfold. You commit to the opportunity to creating whatever that next step is versus like getting caught up in all the what ifs and how to's and what do I need to do next. It's just like, I'm committed to this, so whatever shows up next, I'll do that. And then I'll move forward on to the next thing. Um, what do you hope that dads take away from your experience and from the book Dad Goes on a Work Trip?
great question. My target audience is absolutely dads, and just to explain why a little bit, when I was first struggling with communicating, I went to the local library and tried to
Mm.
find books about dads,
Yeah.
specifically working dads, just to use that as a tool. And I read kids' books every night to my kids.
Mm.
I know there are a million other dads out there that also do that. And for me, sometimes I'm almost reading a story to myself. It's written for children,
Totally.
it has kids pictures, but it's really a story for the adults to
Yeah.
motivate them, whatever the underlying current of the
Yeah.
whatever the concept is.
Yep.
And I was hoping to find that in existence already, but it didn't, or at least I couldn't
Mm.
find it. And what I was hoping for was to create it. If it
Yeah.
didn't exist and I couldn't find it, and I needed this tool, I knew I
Totally.
wasn't the only road warrior out there, flying three
Oh
days
yeah.
a week. I see him in the
Totally.
airport. We wave, we high five. Sometimes I
Yeah.
literally run into people that I'm working with them at the same company, not knowing they're also traveling, and we run into each other at the airport. And
Totally.
it's wild. But
Yeah.
this tool that I was working on to communicate with my children, I wanted to share it. And
Mm.
and so for me, my target audience is corporate road warrior dads that
Mm.
I assume are like me and have a heart and miss their families and want to be
Yeah.
home with them. And this is a fun story written by a dad while he was on the road. And it has built within it funny moments of just the nonsense frustrations that happen when you're traveling that you can't predict, but sometimes you can always guarantee, like delayed
Totally.
flights. It just seems to happen at least half the way, there or
Yeah.
back. I can't stop it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I was hoping to create a tool to share this with other dads. And,
Yeah.
maybe one day I'll be lucky enough to be walking through a library in some other city and look down and maybe see my book. That would be awesome. Life
Yeah.
changing almost. I would probably cry, which out of happiness, which sounds weird. But I'm not a
Totally.
crier. But I
No,
don't
for
know. That
sure.
just like a very powerful could be.
Yeah. Totally. No, I think that's such a cool your story and connecting with dads as a dad myself. Like, there definitely are times, and I know we've chatted through this process. As you've been going through this, over the last year, I've been have been in the mix with you and seeing your progress, and also more recently, like talking with my kids, even just coming to work every day and their expectation of like blew my 4-year-old's mind the other day. We had been talking, I think, the day before, and then we chatted the day after. But he was like, asked me why I had to go to work and what I do and why, and I was like, that like I miss you too when I go to work, and like I wish I could hang out with you all day as well. And it was just like, what? Like you do, And I think that's such a like cool tool to be able to provide other dads and have a talking point. Like I think we need more resources. We need more ways of communicating. This old way of dad goes off to work and is always in a bad mood and always just kind of the provider and the protector and the hard edged human being. I think is an outdated way of being, and I think we all aspire to be more communicative and more connected with our children and provide not only a great opportunities for them, but also connect with them, and show them that we care and that we're just out here doing our best. So I think that's such a cool
100%.
journey that you're on to connect with and share not only your story, but also connect with other dads and help them feel like their struggles are valid and their challenges of going off to work. Like, yes, there's great things that, like, I'm heading out on Friday for a work trip and I'm excited, but also like I know the challenges of being away from family and all the things that creates. And so it's like you have that balance, but I think you're heading down a path of really enabling and empowering dads to see that like we're all trying to do our best, and then finding a way for that to resonate with our children, I think is such a cool tool that you've created.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, and I hope that other dads find my tool and use it to better themselves. And if only they buy the book and read it to their kids and entertain them for 10 minutes, that's worth it too. And if only they buy the book and their kids hate it and it gets read once and never sees the light of day again, but they realize that when they come home they get a hug too, totally worth it.
Totally.
To me, just an acknowledgement that my favorite moment of the day is the second I reunite myself with my children. And I know for a fact that same moment is the favorite part of the day for a lot of other, not just dads, but parents in general.
No, totally.
I'm leaning towards dads in my process here, but it's such it wipes out every other moment for the rest of the day that was challenging, hard, frustrating, stressful, joyful. Even
Totally.
it doesn't matter. It
Yeah.
just erases them all, and then you have this moment of just pure joy, or at least
Yeah.
that's how I look at it, and I look
100%.
forward to those moments. I would get home from the airport, and I'd be driving home, and it's a 45-minute drive, and of course my brain would be thinking business deals, financing terms, whatever, legal
Yeah.
documents, blah blah blah, whatever, and then all of a sudden I'd have to almost kind of smack myself and say, "Hey, you're heading home.
Yeah.
Get
Totally.
excited. Get excited about your family." And
Totally.
and I drive a little faster. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd get in the garage and I wouldn't even take my shoes off. I'd just run upstairs, or I'd just drop
Yeah.
my stuff on a trail leading to wherever I'm going to get that hug.
Yeah, no doubt. That it's the best.
It's amazing.
Screaming, from across the house and running to you. It's just there's no greater feeling, no greater sound in the world, for sure.
It's amazing.
Love
Absolutely
it.
love it.
So we have a question we ask every guest that's on the show. It's kind of our final question.
Okay.
What role has kindness played in building your success?
I'm going to lean back towards my concept of community earlier. Without being a kind person, that Midwest nice, or just genuine and kind, I wouldn't have that community to lean on. And that community might exist, but if I was being fake about it, wouldn't produce the outcomes that it does, and you wouldn't
Yeah.
have that real, true connection existing. It just wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
And if I was a jerk, unfortunately, it worked in that one business circumstance. Not my go-to. Don't recommend it. I'd rather be kind. Ask questions. People will help you. And
Yeah.
sometimes you don't even have to ask. Being kind, they'll help you anyways without you asking. And to me, that's an amazing thing to see. So always
Yeah,
be
dude.
kind.
So
ABK.
true. I love it. It's such a powerful thing, and I feel that from you. I've sensed that from you. I think that kindness plays out, and it's a strength. It's something that you can rely on, and also, imagine seeing it in others and responding to when other people are treat you with kindness, just how that impacts your day and how that impacts your ability to do what you do best. You know, it comes full circle for sure.
It absolutely does. One more shameless plug of the book. Dad goes on a
Okay.
work trip. Nicest, kindest guy in between Denver and Reno. We'll put it that way. For sale on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. And I would not be here today, nor would this book, without my community and my commitment to it and the love of my family. So I'm happy
Love it,
to be continually focused and pushing forward.
dude. Thank you so much for coming on today. Yeah, check out Sean's book. You can find it on Amazon, um, and follow along with his journey. Where can people find you? LinkedIn, Instagram. What's the best
I'm on
platform?
LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. I would say my LinkedIn social media is my preference. Not on
Cool.
Facebook as much, but trying to get out there and provide access to my new book here. And yeah, look me up. Happy to
Awesome.
chat. Happy
Yeah,
to share my process,
we'll
my
link
journey,
your
and yeah,
we'll link your LinkedIn profile in the YouTube
sounds
and
great.
Spotify listing. So yeah, follow Sean. He's a great dude. Always willing to help. He's helped me in a lot of ways, as we've talked about commercial real estate projects and being a dad and everything in between. So follow along Sean's journey. I know that there's much more to come from you, Sean. So thank you for sharing your wisdom today. Thank you for sharing your book. Thank you for connecting with other dads. Thank you all for tuning in, for listening. Please hit that subscribe button. Also comment. Let us know, what you're doing. If you're a dad, let us know your tips and tricks, because we're always all trying to learn how to improve our grind. So thank you so much, Sean, and
Thank
thank you
you.
all for listening. We'll see you next time.